I'm with David Fasano, the founder of People's Choice Mortgage, and we're here to talk a little bit more about the mortgage and real estate industry. David, thank you so much for talking with us today. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Here's the question that I have for you. Now, when you have someone who's trying to buy a home and they're going through the mortgage process, they get super excited when they finally hear that A word, approved. Now, that doesn't mean that the deal is completely done, because then there's still that delay until you really close on that home loan. What are some of the things that mortgage applicants need to be aware of so that the whole process doesn't just get thrown askew during that time from when they hear approval to when they actually close?
Yeah, great question. So in our industry, Travis, what I try to prep every one of my clients for is you're basically going to get a DNA sample right up to the day you close. That's preparing them for true. They are going to ask questions before somebody gives you hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it amazes me how some people get insulted that you're asking them for paperwork through the process. Nobody else has lent you $500,000. So don't take it as an insult. It's doing their due diligence to make sure that you meet the parameters of the loan. So what I try to tell them is they save your pay stubs, save your bank statements, as every time we go over certain thresholds, they're going to require this to be updated. It's very standard. A lot of people get that approval and they think the deal's done, and they don't realize the last 2 weeks of the loan cycle is the most amount of work going on the whole process. It's when the appraisal comes in, the title comes in, all the gathered documents, all the conditions. Now it's ready to go in for final underwrite. Well, final underwrite, usually they always come back with something. They're always going to come back with a couple of questions. They review the appraisal. There could be an appraisal condition. A rent schedule could have came in low. The title might have something that they need cleaned up. The borrower might need to explain certain things. They might find something, like I said, in the bank account where there was a large deposit of cash. People do this shit all the time. And so then we have to take what that underwriter comes out. You never know. Every underwriter in this industry is different. You don't know which final underwriter is getting your loan file. It's not like we can pick Susie and have a relationship with one underwriter. An underwriter's job is to find reasons most of the time to deny a loan. That's their job, to make sure that this loan is sellable into the secondary market. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, they got to be able to meet the requirements to get there. So they're not looking at it the way an originator sees everything perfect. The underwriter is finding all the holes to make sure that all those things that could cause it not to be repurchased when they have to sell the loan off is met. So the last week and a half, 2 weeks, quality control is done on the file, final underwrites. You have some of the higher level people within the organization doing the final scrub on a file. You got to understand, we're dealing with some of the biggest wholesalers in the country right now. People have heard Quicken Loans, UWMs. These are big, huge wholesalers that a lot of the loans wind up to. Well, they got 4,000 underwriters. Some of the underwriters have been underwriting for 1 year. Some of them have been underwriting for 20 years, especially right now with the labor. We have a massive labor shortage in this country. Appraisals, we have a shortage of appraisals. We have a shortage of underwriters. We have a shortage of everything. So we're getting less talented underwriters right now entering the industry. So some of these loans are coming up and we're getting kickouts from underwriting that we know they're dead wrong. I've been doing this 30 years. I got a 1 year underwriter, saying something that we already know is wrong, but because of our experience and understanding how you can't call underwriters and yell at them. You can't scream at them. They're just doing their job. And a lot of times they're always getting yelled at, screamed at. And like I said to my guys, a lot of these kids are young. It's our job to even help these underwriters develop and learn. And that's kind of the approach we have taken. We have great relationships with our underwriters. We do run into the same ones several times, but they do get spread out. But the key is knowing how to get through that last 2 weeks to the close. When that approval comes is when the game begins. And that's where most consumers don't understand. 80% of your file is being worked on the last 2 weeks before the closing. I mean, because we're waiting on everything to come in. We get your P&S. You signed your paperwork for the loan. We send out your loan package. We got your P&S. We order appraisal. We order title. And we're waiting on those things to come in for two weeks. Then it goes into final underwrite, and then the game begins right up to the day of close, right down to the wire. So you are 100% right. I tell every one of my clients, you do not get excited till the day you get to the closing table and you sign the paperwork. And right up until that day, you may be running to the bank 8 hours before the closing to have to get a printout. Because the industry works backwards. It is. It's frustrating. Our industry, 90% of loans close the last week of the month because of odds, days, interest. I'm not going to get into explaining all that, but 90% of the loans close the last week of the month, because the next week they're doing post-closing and getting the loan packages ready to get off to be shipped out. So the first week of the month is not a lot of underwriting going on. It's mainly cleaning up all the loans that closed at the end of the month. And then week 2, that's when things start picking up. By week 3, we're back into the whole craziness of gathering everything on all these closings that wind up closing the last week of the month. And that's the nature of the business. And see, for me, I don't really have a problem with my clients because I prepare them right up front. But a lot of these originators that make it sound like it's an easy process, they're setting themselves up for failure. I've never seen an easy loan, ever. Really. We were talking about this yesterday, Travis. It's amazing right now how, I have a business owner right now who the house is worth $1.2 million. They only need a $500,000 refi. They're lowering their payment by $600, but because they're self-employed and what happened with COVID last year, and because they shut the business down for 4 months, she has what's called declining income. Well, everybody knows they shut them down. Now their income is back on. Not only that, they got $500,000 in the bank. I can't get these people loans right now. It's insane. But I could get somebody a loan right now. That's a 50% loan to value. But right now you could be working, you got 10 grand in the bank. You can put 3% down. And not only that, this business person has paid off millions of dollars of loans on their credit. They got 800 FICO scores, but I can get somebody right now with a 620 FICO, 3% down, like at 90, like it's insane. So it really comes down to knowing the business and understanding where to put people. Now, we were able to help that person, and it took some time and because they had so much money in the bank, they were able to do a 3-year distribution and use that 3-year distribution to qualify. And we had to go set up a whole, retirement piece and all that. But because of our knowledge and understanding, we were able. But there's a huge void right now in the industry for all these self-employed people. It's happening everywhere. So I don't know if I got off track there, but.
No, that was perfect. I love this inside baseball. Thank you so much for taking us behind the curtain and letting us know, how the sausage is made.
Yeah, it's a very stressful, high stress. When you have people's lives in your hand and you really care about people, like you have moving trucks lined up. You have the seller buying another house. You have to move over electricity, cable. Like it's a very emotional business down the stretch. And the biggest falters for everybody is when there's a problem, they're scared to tell everybody. That's the worst thing you can do. Best thing you can do is get on the phone with the seller, the selling side, communicate with everybody. Those sellers don't want to put the house back on the market. They're ready to wait an extra couple of days. But when you got moving trucks and you're not letting people plan their lives around really what's going on, that's very unprofessional. And so we try to nip that type of shit in the bud. Don't run from the problem. That's when you shine. And, Travis, our program, the way I've set this company up, and I said, we're like 99% delivery rate. When I submit a loan to underwriting, it's closing. Unless the appraisal comes in and the house doesn't meet the guideline, I can't do anything about that. If the house is a mess and it's falling apart and they find, problems with the foundation and it needs an engineer, things like that. Or if the borrower screws up their credit during the 30 days. Or if they lose their job, there's got to be a very outside reason. But because of the way we do everything, we're like a 99% pull-through ratio.
That's so impressive. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's unheard of.
I don't know why anybody would want to go anywhere else when y'all are doing such due diligence and taking care of your people.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's what I want the company to be like. And we'll get there, you know, and listen, as you're growing and you're moving into all these other states and you're adding more and more people, it's totally making sure you keep that culture and train it down as you're growing. I never want the company to turn into a client being a number. I never want that to happen. And I will never grow past that. If I ever get to a point where that's going to happen, I'll be out of the business.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. That was a lot of insight. Thank you so much. We got a lot to chew on there.
Thanks, Travis. Have a great day.
You too.